Hey guys, welcome back. Ricky here. Alright, so time for another Q&A video. In the video description, I will leave a link to my kit list that will list most of the items that I recommend, that I use, which will probably cover most of the items that I actually talk about in the videos. In that list, you'll find my most updated list of recommended knives, whetstones, and sharpening accessories. Alright, so here's a question from Valerio Amato, and the question is, "Hi Ricky, got a question for you." Okay, the word question is there. So considering I use carbon steel knives, Rockwell 62 to 65, after a day at work, they are still sharp but not razor sharp. Okay, what stone would you recommend? Just one stone as a quick touch-up instead of starting from a 1000, because I think it consumes too much steel over time. Thanks. Okay, so Valerio, I have posted a video. Valerio, I have posted a video titled "Daily Knife Maintenance with Stropping." So just you can go to my channel page and look for that video. I will post a link to it in the description if I can remember. If I don't post to it, please leave a message in the video of this video that I need to post that link in the video's description, or leave a card to it somewhere. The one stone that I recommend is the Kyocera 3000. That's a stone that I have used the most for daily knife maintenance. Depending on who you ask, it can be considered a high grit sharpening stone or a low medium, I would say, a low polishing stone. So let me grab the stone real quick. Okay, so here is my favorite sharpening stone, the stone that I pretty much recommend anyone who is getting into sharpening that is willing to invest in a good quality stone. This is the Kyocera 3000. You may also hear it as the Professional 3000 by Naniwa. A very good quality stone. The Professional is the updated version of the stone, and basically it's a stone that has been removed. The base has been removed from it, and the stone is about 3 to 5 millimeters thinner than the stone here. The price is a little bit more. They fluctuate between $120 to like 150, 160. So depending on where you want to buy it, that's up to you. I don't know where you live exactly, but I will leave a link again in my kit list, and you'll have a link to this stone here. This stone here is one of the very few stones that I have used that is able to sharpen a knife from dull to sharpness in one stone, and it's also a really decent polishing stone. I think it's actually a little bit finer than a 3000 grit stone. I think the polish that you get from this stone is about 4000 to 4500, not quite 5000, but definitely very close. And very good quality stone, very responsive, very flat, and actually very slow to wear, and also very fast cutting. Most knives on this stone here, I'm able to develop a working burr on the first side within 2 passes, 3 at the most. And even knives up to 66 Rockwell, I have sharpened this on this stone. The HAP 40 steel that I have, it's a Gyoto, it's rated 66 Rockwell, and it developed a burr on this stone, I believe, in 3 to 4 passes. So very, very fast cutting. Possibly one of the best 3000 grit stones out there that I have used. And another option for you, and again, if you don't want to invest in a stone, a strop is really good too. If you already have a stone that you have, I'm guessing you may already have a 1000 grit stone. Seems like you are a very experienced user. You have a decent knife, a carbon knife with a 62 to 65. So I'm guessing you probably have a couple of knives or at least a few knives in your arsenal. I think a strop may work better for you if you already have a sharpening stone. So 1000 to 3000 is not a very big gap, and sometimes depending on what stones you buy, it almost doesn't make sense to go from 1000 to a 3000. So in that case, in special knives, especially knives in your Rockwell range, I definitely would recommend you looking into a strop. You don't have to buy mine, but these are ones that I made. But you can go into getting a $15-20 strop and throwing some decent compound on it. This here is using the Herald's Red, and in that video that I've just discussed, it was using the NK Green, which is like a 7000 grit strop. 7,000 grit stropping compound, and it worked really well. So in the combination with the Kyocera and that strop, my knives got razor sharp. In that video, I actually showed you me running the knife on a brick, dulling the knife on the brick and then bringing it back to life with the Kyocera, and then making it razor sharp with the strop. So if you don't want to spend $100+ on a stone, I would consider going out and buying a strop. You don't have to buy anything fancy, just something simple, and throwing some decent compound. This is Herald's Red. The Nortons are really nice. The Norton Diamonds, Diamond Paste, are really nice. DMTs aren't so bad. I think that the Nortons are probably a little bit better, but I'll have a full review of stropping compounds very soon. The Herald's Red is a really nice one. There's also a Herald's Green, which is more like a 6,000 to 7,000 grit rating. So the red or the green will work for you, especially for daily knife maintenance. So look into that, see how it works for you. Again, I always try to spend as little money as possible to get the best edge possible. And so I think that the stropping solution may work better for you, especially if you are the type that is willing to invest 1 or 2 minutes or 5 minutes every single day to maintain your knives. And also, because of the way strops are designed, they give your knives a little bit more, more grace in terms of messing up. And so if on a day when you're rushing and you're tired and you're trying to just get the edge back, a strop will probably bring that knife back a little bit faster than a stone would. So that's just my advice to you. Try it out and see how it works. I definitely would consider going for the lower cost option first on the strop, and then if it doesn't work for you and you're not satisfied, and then go to the higher, the higher quality or higher price option of a Trocero 3000. Okay. So here is a question from Ezzy Arn. Sorry if I butcher your name, folks. Okay, so the question is, hi Ricky, I need some advice. Okay, so I'm considering buying a couple of stones. In my country, it is very expensive and difficult to acquire them, so I have to import them. After several hours of reviews, I've made a list of potential candidates, and so a list A, B, C, D, E. So you have the Nanawa Trocero 800, Trocero SS. Okay. Let me just make this really clear. The SS can be designated as a superstone, but in their skewing system, the SS is referring to the Troceras, and that's very confusing. So if you guys see in any listings, whether on eBay or whatever, and you guys see the Nanawa Trocera, it's the Trocera. The Nanawa Professional is the Trocera. The Nanawa Trocera SS is also the Trocera Professional. But if you see the SS by itself, it is referring to the superstone, not the Trocera. So that's actually very confusing, but I want to make that clear for you guys. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. Okay, so they have the Cerex 1000, Trocera 2000, okay, and the Nanawa Trocera, SS. Okay, so we have a lot of stones here that are, okay, so because of the price, I'm pretty sure that that option D is the Trocera 3000. Okay, so you're looking at the probably A or B and C and D, E in the future. Okay, so basically a sharpening stone now and a polishing stone later. Okay, so you've named basically, like, of those stones, you have my top choices for the soaking, which is the Cerex 1000, 1010 version, which is the 1-inch thick version, the Trocero 800, which is a slightly faster version of the slightly faster cutting stone than the 1000 Cerex, and then your polishing stones is, I would not go with option C, because option D, the Trocero 3000, is a better stone. It is a little bit more expensive. If you are, if you're already getting a 1,800 grit stone, it doesn't really make sense for you to get a 2,000 grit stone. The polishing is extremely similar, and it just doesn't make any sense for me financially, or really practically. So I would slash out option C and go with either D or E. Now, between D and E, if you want a splash and go that is consistent with the Trocera, and then I would say go option A and option D, because they're both Troceras. They're both splash and goes, and if you don't have the time to soak your stones, they are really good stones. However, the Cerex option B and option E and the Rika 5000 are two amazing stones. In my very first channel, when I first started reviewing stones, the Cerex 1000 was runner-up in terms of best stone of the year for sharpening stone. It is very fast cutting, very responsive. It's a soaking stone, so it feels really nice and just has a really nice organic feel to it. It's a ceramic based stone, so it's a little bit snappier and just a little bit more crispy than average soaking stones, so I really like that stone a lot. The Rika 5000 is also a really nice stone. Very fast cutting, very responsive. You can over soak it if you soak it for longer than like overnight or something like that. It can develop a lot of slurry on the stone, so just be careful there. But I mean, you have a winning combination between A and D and B and E. Budget wise, the B and E option is just as good as the A and D option, so that's just my humble opinion. In terms of sharpening, both stones, the Cerex and the Trocera, are going to be amazing. You're not going to really notice the difference in terms of the edge that you're getting. The only difference is one is soaking and one is splash and go. The D and E option, however, the Trocera 3000 gives a semi-mirror polish, and the Rika 5000 is completely hazy polish. So if you like the hazy polish, what they call a Kasumi finish, go with the Rika. I personally like the Rika's finish better than the Trocera, but the Trocera is a more practical stone for many people. So look at your options there. You have a great option. You have a great list of stones there. I would say just take out option C because it doesn't make any sense. Personally, I would go for one of the sharpening stones, depending if you have a lot of time to soak, then go with the Cerax, and then get in the Rika 5000 because I personally like the Rika 5000 a lot. So that's my recommendation to you. Okay, and the next question we have here is from True Bugalu. True Bugalu. I love your names. You guys have the most creative names and handles. All right, so question for you about honing steels, Ricky. I am new to sharpening and edge management, so I read and learn as much as I can to maintain my knives. That's good for you. Occasionally, I come across a lot of contradicting information relating. Recently, I read a blog post on Dal Strong's website where they don't recommend honing their Shogun series knives on a honing steel. Have you any experience with chipping a Vg10 knife on a steel honing rod? Okay. So True Bugalu. That's a tongue twister for me. Yes. So let me grab a couple of steels for you, and then we'll discuss this topic. Okay. So here we go. We have two steels here. This is a ceramic steel, and this is a steel. So it's made of steel. This one's made of a ceramic base, rod. So a little bit more dense. But it's also called a steel, by the way. So I know that can be confusing when you are new to sharpening. People say ceramic rod, or the case ceramic steel. Well, how do two different words actually make up a steel? But this is also called a steel. Okay, so the job of a ceramic rod or a honing steel or honing rod, to be more specific, the job of these things are actually just that. They're actually made to hone your knives. Here is my experience with steels. So steels I find are very useful for knives heat treated up to about a 58. Anything over a 58, I find that you're much better going on to either a whetstone or a strop. The ceramic rod tends to kind of blends. It's able to work on knives maybe up to a 59. And that's really about maybe even a 60 depending on the knife and your experience. So let me just kind of tell you the differences between the two types of rods and how they actually function and how they actually differ. As you're honing your knife on these rods, you'll see that they actually take off materials, and the rods will actually get gray and black over time. And they're easy to clean off with just a rag and some water. But these type of steels, even though they are technically honing steels, they do actually take off a little bit more material. They act like more like a soft ceramic stone, if you want to kind of give it that designation there. So I find that they actually do help with knives up to a 60 Rockwell. Anything over that, I find that you're much better off going onto a strop or a whetstone. A steel honing rod, what you'll find in most knife kits, is basically a very coarse a rod. These are rated around 200 grits, and that's really it. I know that sounds really rough, but that's really what they are. Most German knives are heat treated from a 55 to maybe a 57. A Wusthof or a Zwilling, they will be heat treated from a 57 to a 58, and that's really about it. So the steels that they include in their knife kits are really just for that. They're actually made to be used almost every single day or before every single meal. So I have walked into some kitchens in the past, and I've seen chefs actually hone their knives before every single meal that they cook, which is insane to me in terms of time, like wasting time. But that's just how they've worked. This is, and so the knives that they use, they just don't stay sharp for very long. They do get sharp. That's not to say that your knives can't get sharp on a honing rod. Your knives can actually get fairly sharp using these rods, but they just won't stay sharp for a very long time. More specifically about your question about Vg10 and chipping, I have not had any of my Vg10 knives chip. None of my knives have chipped. I have lots of knives here in my studio, and none of them have actually chipped from me using them on the cutting board. I have chipped knives on purpose, hitting bricks and for sharpening demonstrations, but I have never chipped a knife in regular use. So Vg10, you will hear it being more of a chippy steel, but I think a lot of it has to do with more user error. You know, I'm just gonna kind of lay it out there. A lot of folks will disagree and they'll say that no, Vg10 is more chippy, but I will say that I use knives quite often, and Vg10 is not necessarily more chippy. I just think that a lot of user error is involved when you see these forums, you know, posting of Vg10's chipping. So Vg10 has a pretty wide range of heat treatments. You will see Vg10 knives being heated from a 59, which is the Tojiro DP. So the Tojiro DP is probably one of the softer Vg10 knives. I've seen it advertised as 59 to a 60. I've never seen it advertised higher than 60. Maybe some literature will say 61, but I really don't think so. I've used it plenty, and I think it's more like a 59 to a 60. And then you'll have your Shoguns, your Dow Strong Shoguns, that are heat treated to a 62 to a 63. Very different in terms of a 59 to a 63. Now this is more of a general recommendation with Vg10 knives. Anything with over, like I said, over a 59, 59 or over, you're much better off using a strop than a rod. I think the strop will actually align your, not align, but actually will clean up your edge much better than a rod would, and it will give you a much cleaner edge over time as well. So, you know, if you have the inclination to buy whether a Dow Strong or any other Vg10 knife, I would say pick up a $20 strop with some decent compound instead of a ceramic rod or a steel or even a diamond rod. Those, you know, they're fancy, but I would say that in terms of practicality, they're fine. But for knives under a 59 Rockwell, anything over that, I definitely recommend you looking into the strop or getting a decent polishing stone. These are better to use because they are easier to use on the fly, and within 10-15 seconds or 10 to 15 strokes, you can get a better edge on a strop than you would on a whetstone. So that's my recommendation to you, is if you're going to get a Shogun or any other Vg10 knife, I would say don't do the honing rod, especially if they're advertised as heat treated over a 59, and go with a strop instead. Thank you for being here, and I'll catch you in the next video.